Alright guys, Papa Pepper here. I want you to consider how fantastic this is. That you could take a cutting from a tree. Say you got a tree in your yard, a fruit tree. You can take a cutting of it. And you can travel like 750 miles because you really like that tree. When you get to a new place, you can find a wild tree that you're able just to take that cutting and stick it into, you know, hook it up to. And then it can sit there for a couple of years being alive and growing, and next thing you know, you can head down to your new land, you know, however many states away, however many miles away, and really have the same tree growing that you had before you left. I mean, the same exact, a literal clone. I mean, I know it's just grafting, guys, just grafting, but to think about how absolutely incredible this is, it blows my mind. It's amazing. It's a huge blessing. And just with a little bit of knowledge, with a little bit of practice, a little bit of skill, you can do something like that. So I'm about to head into this video here where it's the project of moving this tree. But that's a little bit of the backstory and part of why I'm so excited about just living a wholesome life connected to the world, the actual, you know, dirt, the actual trees, the actual world around me. All right, stay tuned. So one cool thing that happened when we moved down to the Ozarks is we saw that there was a lot of wild plums just everywhere. This whole thing behind me, a lot of different wild plums. One thing that I did is I brought back from Wisconsin a couple scions of some of the plums that we had. So for instance, if you note this graft here, right here is a graft. This is a wild plum, and I grafted in right here about 3 years ago now. So all of this is new growth from one of the plum trees that we had up in Wisconsin. Now I knew I couldn't keep the scion alive for a couple of years, so I got everything working on the land, but by putting it on this tree, I've been able to keep it alive, and then it's dormant right now, so this winter, right before things wake up in the spring, I can propagate off of this one, graft into the other wild plum rootstock I've got, and keep this variety going. Walk around a little bit further, and you see the same thing right here with a different kind. My graft, actually the tape is still on here. The tape is still on here where I grafted it. But this is a graft I did too 3 years ago. And at the time, I was just learning. You know, I'm still not incredibly good at it. I have a success rate, which is happy. It makes me feel good to have a success rate. But there we go. There's the graft. So all of this out in front of my face is all new growth from that same original scion that I grafted onto there. Like I said, couldn't keep it alive until, you know, just some dormant scion, as far as I know. So I grafted onto the tree. Now it's kind of sitting here, just kind of some woods the neighbors have. They said, yeah, whatever, you know, this whole thing is a bunch of all these little ones out here are just baby wild plums, and they mostly just get brush hogged down every once in a while. There's a whole field of them here. But this one is one I grafted on a tree by itself. So this, from the point of my finger down, is just a wild plum. At the point here is where I grafted in, and it took off. So everything up there, which is actually quite a bit wiggling around, is again one of the varieties we had up in Wisconsin. And we had a good fruit tree and a good plum tree. Had started a small orchard, and we're kind of heading this way, making the most of what we could. Had about a 20 by 30 garden. Had put in some apricot trees, some pear trees, plum trees, cherries, apples, you know, in our property as well. But plus we had a couple of big maples we would tap for the maple syrup. So today anyway, I'm gonna lift up this small one. I was waiting for it to go dormant, waiting until we had a spot for it on the land. Now that we're moved down onto our land this winter, and it's dormant now, so I'm gonna dig around it, see where it goes, make sure all this Bermuda grass around its root system does not come down to our land with us. And then, you know, I can continue to let this one grow, and as I prune it, I can continue to graft into the wild plum. The wild plum is readily available, but also I know a place that I can go get the wild plum seedlings for, when I buy in bulk, 32 cents each. So you can really crank out some fruit trees that way. especially if you're able to successfully graft. So that's my project. One of my projects today is just to get this guy hopefully moved down to our land. Since it's sleeping, we can kind of take it out of its bed over here, move it down somewhere on our land, give it a new bed, and when it wakes up in the spring, it won't really know the difference, hopefully. Now this is one of the things I was wondering about. Lift that up for a minute, child. See how that root goes straight sideways? And it keeps running through, and then it keeps putting out new plants all over the place. So I wasn't sure. I mean, there's a whole line of them heading out here, guys. I wasn't sure if these were all coming out by seed or if it was spreading from the root system. It's definitely spreading from the root system. So the cool thing is, you know, I've got all these other seedlings I wasn't planning for, and this is only one of the roots that heads off another direction too. So interesting. So you saw I stopped and grabbed some rocks too. None of my neighbors really seem to think rocks are amazing, and they've definitely got enough of them, so they said, yeah, whatever you want. So those are some I had pulled out of the woods a year or two ago, just because I figured I'd need them in the future, and put them on the side of a path, and then was able to back down there and just throw them on the trailer. So as I build my raised beds and rock pillars and other things, it'll be a good opportunity for me to put them to use, and they're kind of indestructible. But I've got the little peppers right now spread out from way over there all the way down over there, just to show you that root system. Not what I was expecting, and we won't keep the whole thing with that tree, but we'll make a couple new, you know, sprouts too, and then when they wake up in the spring, I think they've got some roots there and they can go from there. But we have to keep this in mind as we plant this, you know. This is what can happen. It can start sending them up that far away. So I'm thinking we may put it actually inside one of our animal pens, maybe in the chicken pen, something like that. But let's go take a look closer, guys. So Pinky Pepper here has the original one. This is what we were looking for. The graft is here, so all that above there is the new growth, and then it heads down to there, and these kept going. I broke them off. Got another tree on this side though, and then you run about 7 feet and you got 2 of them. Then you got another one. You run about 3 more feet, you got another one. And then it continues to kind of run for another 6-7 feet or so, which is pretty crazy. I mean, that's 20 some feet worth of root system on a tree that's maybe 8 feet tall, maybe. So yeah, and like I said, we broke them off because we weren't trying to grab the whole thing. So these ones here, I think in the spring we'll take some cuttings from either here or up at the other place, and then we'll be able to add them on. But right now it's lunchtime, kids. Why don't you set that down nicely and break. Alright, back down on the land now, trying to figure this thing out, how to split it up. Obviously with this running like this, I'm going to put it somewhere where it's got space to run. If I plant it out here somewhere in the garden area, it'd wind up everywhere. Not what I'm looking for. But I think we can get quite a few out of this. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4, maybe 5 plus the one that we're dealing with. So wind up with a minimum of 5 here. Different plum trees. One's already grafted into, and then the other ones I may just pot up in buckets for now. I've got a bunch in buckets anyway, but I may just pot them up in buckets for now to save them till I can make sure I got a successful graft on them, and then take them from there. So we'll see if we get chopping here. So we're here in the Muscovy duck pen. So we've got a series of pens here. Goes ducks, chickens, and then guinea fowl. And we'll be doing a couple different things with them on the property as time goes forward. In this pen already, I do have some young peach trees that were actually just created by the fallen seeds of a peach tree up in kind of an old unkept orchard. So somebody was brush hogging it, and I was looking out there, I'm like, man, these are all like peach trees, you know? They're growing from root, from seed. Who knows if they'll be great or not, but I'll at least give them a chance. At least give them a chance. So I'm thinking, out here in front of here, I mean, this is, you know, because of kind of the sentimental value. This is one of the first grafts I ever did. It's a scion from up in Wisconsin where we were from. We brought down to the Ozarks. It's kind of got that sentimental value. You kind of want to keep it around somewhere kind of prominent, but here it's going to be protected. It's going to have a safe place where it can live, where it can be, where we can keep an eye on it, and we can always make more cuttings too. And plus, with the way the roots run, you know, here's an area where it can kind of do that a little better and be kept in check, where if I did it up closer to the house or some other areas, it may not work as well for us. So I'm going to get this thing planted here, and then we'll see. Hopefully it'll wake up good and ready to go in the morning. Hopefully all of the duck manure and stuff that's going to be left on this ground that saturates the soil is going to provide a bunch of good nitrogen for it, and we'll see how it goes. You ready, boy?
Yep.
Yep, he's ready. So we done some digging. There's not a lot of small roots on this thing, so I'm trying to keep a decent section of it intact. Apparently it does just fine like that anyway, but we'll see what we can do here. You can see the hole I made. It's with the pickaxe, so it's kind of coming across here, and then this is kind of going to be the main walkway across here as we go. So any ones that sprout up here we can take back down, focus all the energy on this one, because this one will have some tasty fruit, right, boy? We're hoping so. So we're gonna get this covered. I'm gonna add a little bit of rabbit manure too, just to add a little bit of fertilizer down there, and then we'll cover it back up and maybe mulch it and put a ring of rocks around it. We just like to kind of mark what we got, so that way we're not actually walking into it or thinking it's a weed or something else. This guy's a little bigger. He'll be harder to confuse with other stuff, but I'll get this covered up and we'll be done. So I don't know, guys. Like I said, if you've never tried grafting, give it a go. It can be rewarding. It can be successful. It's amazing that things like this work, but everything was just created in such a way that we have the capability of doing those things and being able to enjoy, you know, the blessing. Like I said, carrying a small stick with me, 750 miles, and then just saying, okay, I'll just stick it in this tree over here and wait 3 years, and then okay, now I'll just pull up the tree and throw it on my yard, you know, in my property. So just crazy, but we certainly enjoy it. So we'll get this finished up and we'll see you guys next time. So one final thing I'll actually add is, if you notice, all the branches here that were coming from the original rootstock, I've already pruned off in previous years to try to focus all the growing energy or whatever this is pulling up to build up branches into this scion. So now that it's here and it's planted, I can actually start pruning it to shape it. And a lot of my trees I'm actually going to kind of like lollipop, where they come up on a single stem to a reasonable height above where the animals are, and they're just going to kind of orb or, you know, make a round shape above that, and then we'll be able to just kind of have it where we can reach everything. So now I can start actually pruning it before they wake up in the spring, and then everything I prune off of here I can use as scions to graft into the next, you know, generation of these guys. So pretty cool. It looks pretty good. It's in the ground anyway. We got it down. Like I said, I mean, this has had an interesting journey from 3 years ago, you know, being cut in Wisconsin to actually winding up on our property down here in the Ozarks. All right, guys, keep learning. You know, apply stuff like this to your life. This can be free food for my family. It's a learning experience. It can be a potential business opportunity too. Just propagating plants, as long as you don't have ones that are more recently produced and patented. But the old stuff you can always propagate, and I think after 20 years the patents wear off anyway. But more food for the family, one more useful thing around here. So see you guys next time. Papa out. As always, I'm Papa Pepper, and I'd like to remind you, don't post for free. If you'd like to be part of a revolution in social media, an economic power to the people where users can actually blog for cryptocurrency, then I'd recommend that you check out steemit.com and join the revolution. Papa out.